Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan, and today we're discussing the Georgia Bulldogs football schedule for the 2024 season. The schedules were announced for the SEC last week, and I'm going to be covering every single one of the teams that are there and for their schedules and stuff, and possibly give a little my opinion about their teams and what I see for next year for each one. I did one about Tennessee already, but now it's time to do one about Georgia. Georgia has an interesting situation here, and it's not necessarily a bad one based on how good they are, but it's definitely not a situation you would want to deal with. They have at least 18 guys transferring right now. Right now, at least 18, and they're not bad players. A lot of them are 5 stars, like Brock Vandagriff is probably the most notable one. He was a 5-star, was the backup for Carson Beck. He had some rumors this year that he might actually be the starter. He didn't do that. He didn't become the starter. Carson Beck got the job, and because of that, Brock Vandagriff has transferred to Kentucky, with a lot of other guys. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for Georgia at all. And with a lot of guys who went to the draft, main one is Brock Bowers. He could come back if he wanted to, but it's very unlikely that he would be willing to. I just tend to think that it won't happen. I tend to think he will just go to the draft. There's a possibility that Carson Beck can come back. That'd be a big thing for them. He's already used to the offense. He's used to all of that. And whenever you've had a quarterback in the system for a couple years at Georgia, it's tend to pay off pretty well. And usually quarterbacks who are at Georgia who are starters tend to stay there for at least 2 years. So I'd expect him to come back. And Georgia's always going to be able to reload with the players and everything that they have. But let's get to the schedule. First game of the year on August 31st. We're playing in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia versus the Clemson Tigers. It'll be interesting to see Clemson hit their stride close to the end of the year. Dabo Swinney is a very good coach, no matter what anyone says. He is very good. You don't win two national titles if you're two national title games if you're a bad coach. It's just you don't do that. You don't do that. I believe this game could be a good game, but I also believe Georgia's going to run through them. Their talent is very well, but Georgia's had problems early in the years before, but those are usually against a lesser talent. This talent is not as good as Georgia's, in my opinion, but it's close enough for them to take it very serious. You could definitely see such a situation like what they did against Oregon 2 years ago in the same stadium. And then you have Tennessee Tech. That's just going to be a roll game. That's going to be an easy game for Georgia. Then you start conference play. You're at Kentucky. Again, there's no divisions. There's no divisions anymore. And with the addition of Texas, Oklahoma, a lot more interesting matchups. And a lot of matchups you might not expect to see. And we'll be getting that later on. But you're at Kentucky. Definitely not easy. Definitely not going to be a very easy matchup, especially if Brock Vandagriff is going to be starting. That would be interesting to see. Because Devin Leary's going to be gone from there. It'll be kind of a fun matchup. I think Kentucky will lose, though, that one. I think Georgia should win it. But, again, there's a lot of time period before it. This year, we're not even in 2024 yet. There's a lot that can happen during this time that would sway someone's opinion. I think Kentucky can get the run for their money, but there's no way that. I think Georgia's would just dominate that. Just win. Then you have a bye week, and then at Alabama. Georgia's notoriously not good against Alabama, including Kirby Smart. He's not been that good against them. And the regular season games that they've had there, I remember the last one they had, well, at least the one with Kirby Smart, was 2020. Yeah, with the COVID year. Bama won. They almost lost, but then they just caught fire at one point in the second half, and Georgia just couldn't do anything. So that'll be it. They actually have an announcement for the time. It is a 7:30 game. It's a night game at Bryant-Denny Stadium. That is probably the toughest time and toughest place to play at. One of the tougher places to play at in the country on ABC. It'll be interesting to see that one. It'll be a fun matchup, very fun matchup. Then because Jalen Milroe's already decided he's going to come back. This Bama team is going to be very good next year. Let's just see what's going to happen. Then you're at home versus Auburn. I only can assume Auburn's going to continuously improve. They've got a lot of good transfers coming in. They've got a lot of commitments coming from Texas A&M. They've switched to just go to Auburn. Stuff like that. That is very big because the more talent you can get, especially from bigger programs, the better. I think Auburn will improve, but Georgia's front line, I think, made a big difference in the game they played this year. But mainly Brock Bowers was. And you got to find another Brock Bowers because Brock Bowers was the X factor. Brock Bowers was the main guy on their offense, arguably for the 2 national title games they've won because he made big plays. Well, I mean, as a freshman, he was running through Alabama players. That's just not normal. And without him, that's going to be very tough to do. You can't. Brock Bowers is a once in like a 15, 20 year type of player. It's not a generational guy, but he's very rare to get a guy like him. So then next up, you're at home versus Mississippi State. Should be able to win that one. Will Rogers has transferred out of Mississippi State. A lot of transfers. Not a surprise though. Mississippi State's not great. They fired their coach. It's going to be a kind of a fill-in year for them. I don't know how they're going to take this Mississippi State. I don't know where they go from here, but they got to go somewhere, and they're probably going to go down. I believe Georgia should win this one. And here's a very interesting matchup. You're at Texas. I'm not. I don't know. I've heard people talk about that Texas doesn't have like a welcome to the SEC game on their schedule. I've heard that from some people on the 24/7 sports thing on YouTube. This is as close. This is a welcome to the SEC game if you could ever have one. You're playing a team that won back-to-back national title games, a team that had 29 straight wins. This team here is very good. Texas can be very good too, but you have a lot of guys leaving. I think Texas might step back a tad bit, not a lot, but a tad bit. And Texas has its own little controversy going on. But they're in the playoffs. They're in the playoffs. You're focusing on that. But the controversy is when Quinn Ewers is coming back, Malik Murphy has left. Where does Arch Manning go? This was supposed to be the year that Arch Manning gets into the starting lineup. But now he's not. And you got a lot of teams in the SEC and a lot of teams around college football that are pretty good, that are maybe just one quarterback away from contending. And Arch Manning is not going to be a starter for this year. Where would he go? If he goes anywhere. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And then you have a bye week after that. And then playing Florida in the Florida-Georgia line game. Georgia should win this one. Florida's I think Trevor Etienne left Florida. That's awful for them because that's the running back that they had. He was the main guy. Now they don't have him anymore. That's going to be very bad for them. Then you have at Ole Miss. At Ole Miss is going to be pretty tough. Ole Miss is going to get better each year. I'm fairly confident that. I think Ole Miss is one of those teams that have just steadily improved. And you've not fully realized how much they've improved because they've not had a humongous win. They've had some good wins. Like last year, technically this year, they beat LSU. That's a big win. It's not a program-changing win, but it's still a big win. The program-changing wins, in my opinion, it'd be right now in the SEC, you beat Alabama, you beat Georgia. Texas, I want to see more consistency with Texas before I say that's a program-changing win. Unless if they just win a national title game. If they win a national title game, like they could this year, then that's a program-changing win. Because whoever you beat, if they just won a national title game, then yes, of course it's program-changing. But they're one more away from just exploding. But Ole Miss is like their second or third ever 10-win year. Very good stuff for them. I'm not going to shout out Lane Kiffin because I'm not a big fan. I'm not a fan of Lane Kiffin, but he's done a very good job. He's done a very good job at Ole Miss. Then you have Tennessee. Then you're at home versus Tennessee. They've lost a lot of guys in transfer portal. Mainly Tyler Barron was the main guy. You have a lot of Teron McDonald. You have him leave. You had the Nico Slaughter leave. You had a lot of defensive guys leave, but you have a lot of offensive guys coming into Tennessee. You have some, like Dylan Sampson staying. You have Nico Lemanavala. He's staying. You have the tight end, the best tight end in the transfer portal tight end from Notre Dame coming to Tennessee. Looks like Cooper Mays is coming out. A lot of offensive linemen are coming back. This offense for Tennessee might be more like what 2021 was, but this defense might also be like more what 2021 was. So that would be tough, and that would go in Georgia's favor because we showed before what happened that year would be in Georgia's favor because they won by 14. And I think one of the main things Georgia's going to have against anyone is their physicality. Their size up front is ridiculous, and they're very athletic. I've not seen a guy like Jordan Davis before. Like, he runs 17 miles per hour and he's like 340. That's ridiculous. Like, how? And he's very good. He was very good. This defense, they're going to have good defenses. Kirby Smart is going to always have a great defense wherever he goes. And it's just the offense, consistency of the offense, and especially against Alabama. We will learn how good this team is when they play Alabama. I'm not saying they can't improve, but Alabama's a very good tell on how good your team actually is. Then you have at home versus UMass. That should be a simple win for Georgia. And then you close out the year versus Georgia Tech. It's been a while since you've lost to Georgia Tech. I think 2016. 2016 was not a good year for Georgia at all. They lost to Tennessee on that Hail Mary. They lost to Vanderbilt. They lost to, I'm pretty sure, I think they might have lost to LSU before then. They lost to Florida, and they lost to Georgia Tech. Not a good year for them at that time. But, yeah, you have those rough years to build the great years. So, yeah, that is Georgia's schedule for next year. That is my preview of that. I'll probably give more throughout when more stuff come out. And, yeah, hope you all have a great day. Stay safe, y'all. Put down in the comments what you feel about this stuff. And, yeah, hope you all have a great day. Stay safe, y'all, and God bless y'all.